folks, and welcome to the stream. My name is Mike D'Angelo, aka That Tellest Guy, and we are going to be looking at a map that we're going to be delivering to our Kickstarter backers in a couple of weeks. This is one of the bonus day one backer maps. As you can see, it's kind of bigger than one of our usual maps, so it's 4 maps, but we typically, when we're building something for like a bonus like this, we're doing it because we want to help the people who are helping us. So in that situation, we kind of have this is a bonus part of the bonus. So we've got these 4 maps all connected, and we're just calling them one map. So we have, for the day one backers, we have 5 maps that are going to be going out. That is this one, which is the TowerSphere practice pitch, the statue garden, we have Dragonhenge. There's 2 others, and I'm forgetting what they are off the top of my head. One of them is the covered bridge. Oh, and the other one is the Minotaur's Maze that we were working on. So we've done a decent amount of work on all of them, but we wanted to start to wrap up some of these. We also have the bonus 5 maps for that every one got, because we got so many day one backers. So we're definitely trying to make sure that we have this stuff ready for the end of the campaign. So what we're going to do real quick is, most of this is done. You can see the idea for the practice pitch is, I'm not a huge sports guy. I don't know if anybody out there knows that, but I am a huge nerd, and I like to nerdify the things that other people like. So we introduced something in the Tellest universe, in case you're hearing this for the first time, called TowerSphere, which is kind of like a mix of football, like American football, croquet, a little bit of wrestling, I guess, all like in like the veneer of like gladiatorial combat. And the way that the game works is you've got a field of battle. One half of it belongs to one of the teams, and one half of it belongs to the other. And you've got towers that the folks have to go through in order to kind of reach their objectives. And I'll show a little bit more as we're going through all this. What we have to start with is we're going to get rid of this opacity here so that everything kind of blends in a little bit better. And didn't need to do that. Let's lock these down. And we have these other versions too, and I don't know why. We got 2 for some reason. I don't know. That's okay. We'll keep that one undone as well. So basically what you see here is, this little path is kind of helping us indicate where the pitch lies. This isn't actually part of the map. It was just for me when I was put everything together. We were going to originally try and see if we could make our own asset for the towers that we're going to build, but we had a little bit of a hard time coming up with something that looked right. So I think that what we're going to try and do is build something in on platform. So the way that TowerSphere works is you've got 3 towers on each side that the players control. The teams identify where they're going to put these towers, but the idea is that they have to get a sphere, the sphere part of TowerSphere, into said towers. So there's different ways that you can play. Tournament style might be that you've got 2 towers on your side and 1 tower on the other that like already start on your color or something like that. There's all kinds of different ways that you could set this up. So let's actually real quick, I did notice one thing that we're gonna have to change. I feel like this is okay, like you'd be okay with a tree kind of hanging over, like a canopy hanging over the field, but this here probably wouldn't fly. So let's do a little shift over here, and we'll scooch these guys down a little bit. I missed that thorn bush, so we'll have to move that too. There we go. And that way they don't... Oop, I don't really need that snap to the grid, so we'll do that there. Make sure I'm not missing anything else. That's okay because that's off the pitch. One little rock. Scooch that up, scooch that up. They're going to be very deliberate about this stuff. And then we're going to have to go through and clean this up because you can see just the pattern very ongoing. But no other rocks or anything. Maybe I'm okay with those. They didn't have lawnmowers, and they're not going to really go nuts about that kind of stuff. But let's do our towers real quick. So getting our towers right is going to be a big part of this. We're going to snap it to the grid because I want it to try and keep it like a certain size. We're not going to do cliffs. We're going to do maybe like the stonework here, and we don't need to keep it at 100. Let's try and do 20 or so. And actually, there's one that might work even better. Look at that. We got a follower. Thank you so much. Solid 10 D&D. I appreciate you dropping by. All right, I think 15 is a nice number for that, and the Merlons on this tower make it look a little bit more towery. And what we're going to do is use the fill as well. I might open this in HD if it gets too hard to see this, but let's go into, we're going to change this to a texture. And we're going to find something that feels a little better for what we're doing. We might use the stone wall style. But I'm going to look around and see if anything else kind of speaks to me a little bit more. I kind of want something that looks a little brickier. We're at 61 followers now. Oh, you know, we could use like the Gothic Cemetery one as well. I might try that. 61 followers, so we're very close to doing some stuff when we kind of get to the second season of our Quantum Quest Live stuff. That's right around the corner. The Tavern Bar stuff might work too. I feel like the temple stuff doesn't quite do what we want. Let's try the Tavern Bar first. And we definitely need to change this to reflect the size that we're working with. That might even be too big. Let's try 10. Hype! I appreciate the hype. That's some good stuff. So, now because we have Incarnate set so that this is all one piece, we can move it from place to place without any problem, and we can copy it without any problem. What we're going to do is we're going to get in here and mess with the portals. So let's see if we go into the shape tool again, we should be able to come in here, and we're probably going to change the size of that a little bit. Actually, let's see. I might not even do a portal. What we might try and see if we can pull off is, let's see if we can get an arch. Not an arch. So we've got the Gothic Horror Castle one, which we might be able to desaturate, and the Temple one. Those are kind of like, you get the marble and the brass. The marble at least has kind of like a stone look to it. And we've got a couple of different types that we can play with. Let's mess with this one a little bit. And we are going to take off the snap to grid just for a touch or two. Let's transform this so, you know, I am going to snap it back to the grid. So we do want it to be at least pretty centered. Let's see if we mess with the width a little bit. Try 65, and the good news is it's already doing what we need it to as far as that goes. But I am running into a little bit of a problem where, see, now that's good. There we go. That actually, I think, shows exactly what we need. That's our little entrance into this tower, and you don't really need to see like an actual hole or anything. It's just there. So if we do that on both sides, maybe what we do is, let's see if I can bump it up a little higher. Magic number 13. Let's see. What do we think? Does that look like, is that indicative of an entrance, or does that look a little weird? Try and mess with the color too. So saturation we can change a little bit. I don't think we technically need to. And if we bump the saturation up, it kind of blends in a little bit better with that stone. Let's try and see if we can do a shadow as well. So we'll do a default, perhaps. I think that adds a little bit more character to it. So then obviously what we need to do next is, well, we have to copy this, but maybe not the next thing we do. And the reason for that is because the other big component of TowerSphere is that we need some flags. So these flags are going to, not flags, just flag, just in case there's other options. And there's not. Let's see, we've got these kind of banners here. I'm looking for something a little bit more like, almost like the tapestry stuff that we get in like the castle set. So let's see the curtain. Oh, it would help if you were on a top layer. So what we're going to end up doing is something like that for like a neutral flag, and we'll add some contrast to it just so it shows up a little bit better. And because it is, well, I mean, we can do it however we want really, but we'll do something like that. Actually, let me move it over here so I can play with it a little bit better. We need something for it to stand up, and technically this flag is, it doesn't have to adhere to a lot of like physics or anything like that, because it's summoned. It's an illusory flag. We've got these curtain rods. Let's play with this a little bit. But we are going to like add the curtain rods and stuff just so it feels a little bit more rich and real. And can we do kind of like a plate? Oop, not pate. A brown plate. Yep, and we'll use the Nordic home plate and throw that down here. Now, like I said, I'm not able to see hardly any of this stuff, so we're going to do a real quick save. We have the basics, and we're going to go back in high res so that I can see things a little bit better, because I don't think that we're on high res right now. I think we're on the 2K. Although, it has taken a while to save, but then again, there's 4 times as many maps, So for variants for this, I was thinking of having like a rainy day variant with like some mud and stuff like that. And then just trying to find, I mean, it is practice, but we want to make it a little bit more expressive. So I wanted something very basic, and then I wanted something a little bit cooler. So that was opening by default on 2K. So 4K ought to give us a little bit more, you know, room to see what we're building. Sometimes you can kind of play it by ear, but in cases like this where you want to be maybe a little bit more precise, it gives you the opportunity to do something like that. Okay. If we thought the save was going to take a while, this 4 times map at 4K. It's going to take a little bit longer, so we just have to be patient. Alrighty. So now if we zoom in here, we should see a decent amount more detail. And I actually am very happy with the way that the tower entrance looks. We knew that we were going to be doing something a little bit different based on using the material within the system rather than building our own. That might come later, but at least for now, let's just keep it as is. We'll do it at 90. We'll keep it there. And let's make a couple of copies. So again, in TowerSphere, the idea is that the teams can put their stuff anywhere. So we'll do 3 on each side, and then we'll kind of fine tune it, figure out where things are going. And then we're going to put the sphere down, and then just find out some ways to kind of make the map look a little bit nicer. And I just realized we have... See, that's the one problem when you're doing stuff in low res and so detailed. You don't know when you're missing certain things like that. Okay. So we don't want to make this symmetrical, right? Because both teams, they're building their towers in different ways. Not building them, but setting up the way that they are. Oh no. And in theory, they don't even have to be set up exactly like this. You could have them like turned so that it could be something like that. But I want to keep it a little bit basic for the starter map. Ooh. And then we'll do some variants where like you can see like the color changes and stuff like that. Like the flags are changing colors. Let's go into here real quick and make sure that I don't want to have things like right on the quote-unquote goalpost. So they've got 2 maps up there, or 2 towers up there. Let's move everything like so. And I'll get rid of this again. So we are going to do a version where the sphere itself is dead center, which is somewhere in here, and I probably should have kept that. Oh, there you go. You can actually just hover over that to see that this middle section here is where we want to be. And we'll also have to figure out like a way in universe to explain away something like this path. And I'm not sure what that is yet. It can't be a fence or anything like that because the teams need to make their way over it, and we don't want to do like a rope or anything like that. They don't exactly have spray paint, so we'll figure it out as we go. Now there should already be something that we can use for the sphere. We can use like a crystal ball or something like that. I know that I've seen something before. Fortune teller. I know that it's in there. Let's go to the wizard set and see if we can find anything there. Oop. There we go. So we've got the magic orbs, and we got to make sure that this is sized appropriately. So 15 is probably good. I think that area right there. Is that where the... Yep. So we're just going to keep it dead center for the very basic version of the map. And again, because this is supposed to be neutral at this point, it's just going to be like that. Now, everything that we have neutral, the flags and the sphere, the way that it'll work is when one of the teams has control of it, it'll change the color. And again, depending on how how you want the game to go, it will be structured a little bit differently as well. So you could have the rules so that every one of the flags needs to be the same team's color. You could have it so that each team starts with their flags already colored. There's a bunch of different ways that you could do it. And I guess in universe they have to figure out what version of the game they're playing with, but we don't know what that is just yet. Let's see. Let's come in here and we're going to use dirt, and we're going to do some blending. Because again, we don't want just endless amounts of this pattern. So we've got a couple hills in the back and stuff like that. I guess that's kind of more like tree stuff. So let's, since there's not really a lot of trees in that area, let's do our first pass there, and I think it's going to be foreground layer. So something like that. Actually, it's not too bad for like the area around where this thing is going to be. I think at one point I had done like a decent amount of stuff back here as well, but I wanted to make it so that you could get to, you know, this spot. So we're going to kind of continue working around that concept a little bit. We're not going to have the trees, but we will have kind of like maybe a little bit of like extra brush that they had cleared out over the years. And let's start to kind of clear out some of these patterns. So you can see they just kind of over and over and over again start to repeat. So I guess let's first start out by working on the area around the towers, because we do know that since people are going in and out of those towers, here is where a lot of that would be. Like if this is the standard placement for the towers. And it's very possible that like in this version of TowerSphere, where it's like a practice pitch, this could be like lower level people who don't get to practice in the arena. I'm imagining that this is like in the forest west of Adelatha, where like a lot of, I mean, it's where TowerSphere was basically invented. So, you know, like up and comers who are trying to get into like the lower rungs of this event, they might be setting up their own towers. Now, these are very well put together. You know, these are very classy looking towers. So maybe they have an inn somehow. Maybe they have like someone who does some kind of architecture or something like that, and he's kind of like their benefactor. But at least for our purposes, we're going to pretend like this is the place that these towers are, and probably not a safe way to move them or anything. All right, so we got those pieces done. Now let's start to just kind of put a little bit of some changes into certain places on this map. And again, it is kind of hard because we do want most of this to be open. You know, the whole idea of this map was to make it a very basic, you know, sporting pitch. And that means kind of keeping away from a lot of the stuff that we do. We'll figure out other ways to kind of spice it up, you know, either along the sidelines or behind. Because we do like to put like, you know, the 4 points of interest on our maps. It is a little bit more of a challenge in this case because it's serving such a an intentional point. Let's see, we don't really need those guys, so let's try and maybe dirty up that stuff a little bit, and then maybe we'll go a step further for those parts in particular. Oh, you know what? Here's the one stupid problem with what we just did. We're missing the style that we really need, because we need the rocks and everything to be a little bit smaller. I know Matt was saying that he wanted to work on stuff. Let's see. So in the places that we did a little bit of it, we'll just do one more pass just to get some of the smaller material in there. Okay, and a little bit here. So I think one of the reasons that we definitely do want to pursue the idea of like a stamp of our own is because in a lot of cases, if you are going to, play TowerSphere in your sessions, we need to make sure that players are able to determine where their towers are. The rule is you get to place it anywhere on your side of the field, and if the towers are already established, you don't really get to experience that. So we definitely want to keep in mind that kind of stuff. Go in here, clean that up a little bit. Let's see. One of the things that we can do for this map is when we are doing variants, we could do spectators. We have that from our Saramore race map, so we can do something similar here. Let's do stuff like this. And this is also going to help us when it comes time to do the like the muddy rainy day variant, because we can put a little bit of water down. We can make this look dirtier. Let's do the opposite of what we're doing now, and let's do the fuller looking grass that we have here, and we'll use that to kind of disguise some of these dirty clumps and stuff like that. So we'll change the texture to, I'm just going to do a little love tap up here just so that we have it on the field. So we did 15, so let's change the texture to 15, and then again this will help us to start to blend this kind of stuff into the ground a little bit more. So get rid of those sort of patterns that you see. Make it look a little bit livelier, a little bit richer. Maybe, especially because we have some plants over here, so they're thriving somehow. So we'll do some of that stuff there, and maybe some up here. Couple passes. Alright, so we've got some stuff there. Let's do a little bit more over in this general area. Kind of like the idea of like that middle line here being pretty nicely kept. Probably not the case, because this is where people are scrimmaging the most for that orb, that sphere. But I do like the idea of it being like a nice clean center. Let's do a tiny little pass here so that it doesn't look super much like that one that's up there. And it kind of comes in and blends nicely with where like the dirtier areas of this map are. Maybe a tiny, oh, you know what? We have this bit up here. So running this helps to disguise that as well and clean that up. Okay, and let's do some up here. Do some in this area between all this dirt. Maybe some up here as well. Oh, yep, we know that we need to. This is kind of like helping us dictate where we need some of that stuff. We'll do like some connective tissue here and here. Okay, and just kind of use that as our guideline as well. We know that there's some grass there. All right, let's see. Maybe some down here in this cluster. Let's go nuts. And then we'll shrink it down and be a little bit more intentional about where we're putting things. Right, world's different than when we started. There's a lot more of a dynamic feel to this field. Let's do a little bit there. We're around 250 changes, so we'll save. It is going to take a little bit, so I'll tell you what. We don't know when we're going to do Quantum Quest anytime soon, but let's try and see if the Stream Deck will at least let me hit that button. Now that our Twitch channel has reached affiliate status, we can start to do some really cool things. One of them is inviting you to play our tabletop dungeon diving game, Quantum Quest. Using our channel points, called Quest Coins, you can queue up for one of our forthcoming Tabletop Thursday games. In addition, as we amass more followers, we'll continue to add new ways for you to use your Quest Coins. Join us and see if you can escape the living dungeon. And I didn't realize it. This is still saving. That's how big this map is at 4K. I didn't realize it. We are only 9 followers away from the next level that we would unlock with the channel points, the quest coins. Rihanna has been itching to use more of those quest coins. So let's see what she can do in about 9 more followers. You know what? While we're waiting for that to load, and it is going to say like, hey, like don't leave don't leave Incarnate, because every time you do, it takes longer to save. That's okay. It's taking forever anyway. So one of the things that I wanted to say was earlier today we had a super backer, a mega backer, mind you, who brought us to. He brought us from just having unlocked the second stretch goal to unlocking the third one, and you can see that we changed the style of the map, or of the header image. We are now at 73 battle maps for backers, plus anything else that you might get as well, because if you miss the first one, you can get another 50 plus maps, and there's still more to come. We are on day 8 of this campaign, and we've still got plenty of time to get more stretch goals. Let's head down to our stretch goals map down here. So we just got to the $1,300 level, and this was funding 8 more maps from Becca Tigris. She has been doing some beautiful, what we'll do once this is done, and it is, let's take a look at some of her stuff real quick, because it is really good. And I'm excited to show people little previews of these things as we're making our way further and further into the campaign. So we already have these maps up on Patreon. Like, that's not really the point of the Kickstarter campaign. The Kickstarter campaign is to try and bring awareness to the maps and to get people the maps cheaper. Obviously we want to try and get a little bit of funding towards these things, but we're using Kickstarter as kind of like almost like a marketing platform in this case. But Becca has done 4 ground level maps for us for a kind of vampire manor. So if you needed to do anything with like an overarching like vampire story in your game, this is the set that you want. And we're over the next couple of weeks going to kind of clean things up and get this ready to be packaged on Drive-Thru-RPG. But let's give you a little bit of a preview. We had this idea that we wanted it to have the mansion itself, which you'll see, the base levels, the ones that we've already unveiled last week and this week. But we also wanted a courtyard, and we wanted a hedge maze. I thought that sold the story of what we wanted to do for this stuff pretty well. So we've got this very awesome looking courtyard. She took a very basic, very rudimentary image that I put together on Excel and made this her own. Very cool looking map. You can see we've got, it would help if, well, we'll take a look at it here. We've got a couple different variants of it as well. We have some extra corruptions. We have some like kind of lively looking ones instead of like the dismal looking one that we were looking at. And then we have the same thing for the hedge maze. So the starting hedge maze that she gave us is down here. and we made ones that were a little bit cleaner. We made ones that took advantage of some of the other stuff that we have. So, for instance, we have a custom asset now for like angel stamps, and we made them look a little bit dark and moody and everything, and have weeping angels in the area. Let's see, did we make in the base one a little creepier? Now we have one variant that has like hands coming out of the rose bushes and everything, because again, we like to have like 4 points of interest, and right now really the only big one is the statue, the lady of the house. Let's take a look at our Vampire Manor floor 1 and floor 2 as well. So probably makes sense to look at south first, because this is where you would enter. So if the courtyard was down here, you would come in here. You could go around the sides of the house, but this is the entrance. You can see that there's some debris, there's some cobwebs, there's some torn up curtains and stuff like that. This house has definitely seen better, but we do have like country manor looking versions of the map. They look really nice. And then you've got the stairs that lead up to the second floor. So we have 2 maps for the second floor as well. And in addition to that, we have an attic map. And then we have the north side of the mansion. So just connective tissue to the stuff that we just saw. Here's where the stairs go up to. And then you can see a nice little dining area, a kitchen, a little pantry or a larder. This is where the servants would sleep. Everything is in disarray with the exception of the books here in the library, although there's cobwebs and everything everywhere, so there's a chance that you try and pull these books off the shelf and they fall apart. The dining room is in remarkable condition. You figure that's kind of like where you might have an encounter, not necessarily a battle or anything, but like an opportunity to role play and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting to keep this clean and give people a reason to go there. And then the other place is this this kind of study, and you can see that there's a desk here, and just behind the desk you can see the trapdoor to the basement. So Becca did a great job with that. As I mentioned, that is already funded, so everybody is getting those 8 maps as a part of this Kickstarter, and we're really excited to get that to people. We have the next set just $270 away. Matt has been working pretty tirelessly over the past couple of weeks to make sure that we have his maps ready. He's got 3 of them already over to me, and he's working on 2 more. He might have even been working on them now, because he said that he was going to try and time it so that like in solidarity we're working on maps at the same time. And then after Matt's, I'm hoping that we get to mine, because we've been working on some of the other stuff from me as well. So we did like I think the mountain bridge is one of our bonus ones. It might be that the forest wishing well is one of them. And then we were just the other day doing the volcano sacrifice map. So we got a lot of stuff coming. And then the big ticket item this time around, which I'm very sure that we can get to, is our very first set of assets that you can use in your own maps, and that is a set of statues in stone, marble, gold, and wood. So a lot of cool stuff still to come, and I mean, who knows? We might even be able to go further than we thought, and I might have to make a third stretch goal map. So it would be very cool to be able to do that, and I think with 21 days left, anything is possible. But I'll tell you what, we are at 41 minutes in. I usually only go around 45 minutes or so. Let us go to our show closing screen, and we'll wrap this thing up. So, folks, on the screen right now, you should see all the places that you can find Tellest out there on the internet. Tellest.com is a great first place to start, because it'll usually bring you to our other projects. We obviously have the Kickstarter right now, and that is the big precedence-taking item. We also have a couple of premium places that you can go to get our maps as well. So patreon.com/Tellest is where you can get our maps all in one kind of go, and every time that we get a new set of maps, we usually try and do between like 8 and 12 per month, you'll get that content right away. So that's always nice if you want to, be one of our super supporters and be able to get that content right away. The Etsy store is where you can find physical versions of our map. That's tellest.etsy.com. We have, I think, 83 of our maps currently available, and whenever I have free time, I go in there and I throw more into that. So definitely check out the Etsy store if you want the physical maps. We're going to have on the Kickstarter a video of like an unboxing for our maps, so you can see what it'll feel like to get your own map that you order from us very soon. And on Etsy, we have a couple of other things that you can get as well. Bookmarks, stickers, our actual books from the world of Tellest, Rhianna's Magic Wands, all really cool stuff. We also have, if you want to do like an a la carte digital version of our stuff, battlemapfantasy.com will bring you to our Drive-Thru RPG publisher page. And that's where you can say like, all right, like I don't need 73 maps. I only need, you can get them, but I only need the 6 jungle maps that you made. Let me grab those. So you could do that. Or you could do something like, I just want the hedge maps maze that you did. I just want the forest maps. Or I just need a one-off, and this one fits my needs. So our Drive-Thru RPG publishers page is a great place for that. We have 2 TikTok channels that you can check out. TikTok.com/@WeirdWitchWands is where you can find Rhianna's one-of-a-kind handcrafted magic wands. They are really, really cool. You should definitely give them a look. A lot of them is sold at this point, but you get to see the cool stuff that she's made. We are 3 days away from another live event, so we're hoping that we get to sell a couple more of those and find forever homes for those wands. We also have a channel for our dogs, which is @TalesOfTellest. They're way more popular than us, and for good reason, so go check them out. The last 2 places that we'll bring your attention to are the 2 video channels that you can find us on. YouTube.com/@WorldOfTellest is where you're going to be able to find all of our videos. At this point, we have just a metric ton of them. I think we're on episode like 56 of Talking Tellest, which we do every Monday, and it's much more often that we do the map stuff. So there's just tons and tons of stuff that shows like the things that we've done on Incarnate. So YouTube is a great place for that. But if you want to check us out live, twitch.tv/thattellestguy is the only place that you can go do that. And like we said, we're at 61 followers now, so we are even closer to unlocking the next Quantum Quest Live bonus, which is going to get people involved that much more. So I'm very excited for that. So thank you to our new follower who joined today. And if you're seeing this in the future, consider coming over to the Twitch channel and subscribing, so that, well, not subscribing, follow. You can subscribe too, but following is what we need to unlock those other things down the line. So my voice is starting to go. We're going to wrap things up, but I definitely appreciate you being here and checking out this content, and we'll see you next time. But until then, I'll miss you.